Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for being here for International Women's Day. Yoga Gives Back's very special wisdom relay, which we're doing for 2 days. And now we have very special guests, our ambassadors, Ashley Rideaux and Tamika Caston-Miller. I would love to give a very short introduction and I pass it to you both. So Ashley is a Los Angeles-based teacher after many years of leading 200-hour and 300-hour teacher trainings for YogaWorks. In 2023, she co-created a 20-hour training for Center for Yoga Los Angeles, where Yoga Gives Back was born 19 years ago, alongside living legend Lisa Wolford. Outside of traditional studio spaces, she teaches yoga to women and adolescents in eating disorder treatment facilities, has experience working with seniors with neurological disorders, and was the featured yoga instructor for NBA player Jordan Farmer's Hoop Farm basketball camp for 4 years, where she worked with kids from ages 7 to 16. Tamika Caston-Miller is an international yoga educator, executive coach, and entrepreneur living the life of urban farmer and conscious community builder in Houston, Texas. She curates accessible and inclusive yoga practices and philosophy in service to collective healing and community repair through the lens of rest, resilience, and integration. Tamika is the founder of the Ranch Houston and Ashi Yoga Collective, a writer for Yoga Journal, contributor to the Yoga of Parenting book, and appointee to the executive leadership team for the City of Houston LGBTQ and Advisory Board. We are very honored to have you both. And please start your session rooted in the storm, yoga's collective liberation. Thanks
Thank
both.
you. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I know I speak for us both when we're so excited to be here, especially during such a tender time in our country and our world. And to that end, we would love to just take an opportunity to first ground and being here and just to understand that all of us are landing from different ways and places. So let's just take an opportunity to ground. So first just notice, I mean, are how are you feeling? How are you feeling arriving? How is being here right now? And if you like, you could lower or close your eyes. You can allow for the eyes to, for your gaze to fix somewhere that is not directly ahead of you, or if it is, maybe it's on something green or lovely. And take an opportunity to look around in your inner landscape, just to notice what is there, what is happening, what is present, what is available. And notice your body now. Squeeze the hands, squeeze the shoulders up to your ears, maybe even scrunch up your face. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And even weirdly, oddly, maybe open your eyes like, like that weird, like lizard finding something scary. And then let that go. And let's do that again. Squeeze everything, even wrap the toes around the feet, squeeze up your face, your eyes, everything squeezes. And then weirdly open your eyes, maybe, and let in a little bit of humor. And then let that go. And before we close eyes again, if you close your eyes, take a moment now to look around your space and notice where you are, like how you are, what's going on. Don't, start judging any plants that need watering or any wall fixes. Just allow yourself to be where you are. And then bring that awareness back to you, closing or lowering your eyes again. And with that same lens of curiosity, taking a look around your inner landscape again. Now take an inhale, let the body feel full as you'd like to feel today. And then exhale a little longer. Do that again. Inhale, let the body fill up. And exhale even longer. One more time. Inhale. Body expands, body fills. And exhale. Body empties, softens, and begins to fill into everything where the body needs support. Notice, sense, and feel the support of the whatever is underneath you. And befriend your imagination to fill into the earth underneath us as well, acknowledging that whatever we're sitting on, lying on, experiencing is just a representation of a whole bunch of things coming together to imitate the earth holding us right now. Now imagine as you inhale the earth's awareness and wisdom coming in through everything touching the earth, touching a foundation, coming into you. And as you exhale, your wisdom, your awareness going back into the earth, and allow for the earth to absorb some of your sacred witnessing of this time. Take another inhale. The body expands as you draw in the earth's intelligence, the earth's wisdom. And as you exhale, share some of that wisdom back with the earth, with the world. And now, if you notice that your awareness is anywhere else, for someone else, for anything else, call back your awareness back to you. Call all of your energy back to you. Call in awareness. And allow for it to settle in the body, in the mind, in the heart. And ask yourself, how am I really? And listen. What do I really need in this moment? And listen. Take another inhale, the body expands. Exhale, the body softens. You can bring your hands together, rub them, warm them, generate a little bit of heat, and then bring them over your face, over your eyes. Feel this exchange between the hands and the face. And then allow for your eyes to open behind the fingers, letting in a little dappled light. And as you're ready, let the hands fall away. Hmm.
Thank you for that,
Oh,
Tamika.
my pleasure, friend. I am so glad that we are here together.
Me too. And that we coordinated accidentally. I feel like we're living in the same color scheme, same color family here.
We are. This always happens, especially even with our pod, where we're just like, did we just
Did we just
accidentally?
do this?
It's a
It's the
part of our
collective.
It's the collective, and it's our co-regulation strategy, I think.
Here for that. I'm here for that. Thank you for those of you that are here with us live and for those of you that are tuning in to this conversation later around the topic of being rooted in the storm. And I thought we'd open up chatting a little bit about the two classical paths that are offered to us in the yoga tradition. Right? So there is the renunciate, and I think about this as The classic texts that we read, and there's the monk that goes and lives at the foot of the Himalayas, and releases all worldly possessions. Right. And then there is the path of the householder. So this is the person that's raising a family, that's building community, that's navigating day-to-day life in society. So right now, we're living in a world that has a lot of climate grief, that has political exhaustion, that has, lifetimes of systematic injustice. And perhaps the first question that we'll ruminate on, that we'll chat about, um, is why does this second path, the path of the householder right now, feel more radical? Why does it feel more necessary than ever? And what is that actually asking of us?
Mm. Yeah, I think that, it's a really interesting thing to name that it is a very radical path to be a 21st century householder. It is asking us to exist within a fractured, challenging world that continues to challenge and expand us. And, I would love to know, and if you all would like to put in comments, what are you thinking about this? What is existing in both the world of life, your life? Like, what does existing in your life actually ask of you? And then what does existing in your life with awareness, with conscious awareness, with being awake, being willing to be awake, what does that ask of you? I think that this is a radical way of being because it requires for us to not dissociate through these moments, not spiritually bypass through these moments, but to exist within them, to acknowledge them, and to acknowledge how we would like to show up for them as well. And that is really, really challenging given that we have our own feelings about what's happening in the world. And depending on where we are in the world, things are different, and we have our own realities of living, aging parents, aging bodies, changing mental acuity, the injuries, car accidents, joy, beauty, getting married, getting divorced, getting, having children, deciding not to. I mean, all those things are also happening, right?
Being human. Because being
Yeah.
human is exhausting at times. But, around this question of the radical nature of choosing to be a householder as opposed to a renunciate, it makes me think a little bit about anytime that I travel out of the country to teach, or the rare occasions where I have a holiday, and I feel so alive. I feel so in my yoga when I'm out of my day to day, right? And part of that is I'm in a new place, so I'm forced into the present in a different kind of way. I'm figuring out where I'm going. I'm taking in new sights and sounds and smells. Um, and part of it is I'm out of the routine of my day to day. Like it's easy to be peaceful and centered and get on my mat 3 times a day when I'm in Indonesia.
Right.
When there's not the pull of the demands that are literal or those perceived of my day-to-day life. And I find myself every time that I'm on the plane coming back thinking, I could just move here. I could just stay here. Like life is really amazing here. And the question becomes, I think, for me, the radical nature is, yes, it is easy to be peaceful, it is easy to be calm, it is easy to be present, it is easy to be in our yoga when there is not the demand of our day-to-day life and the outside pressures of the world. But how do I maintain my peace or find, I guess, true peace when I am navigating all that I must here with job, with
Yeah.
work, with everything else that shows up. And so I think the radical nature of it is maybe lies in the question of, am I truly at peace when there is nothing that is testing that peace?
Mm, that part.
Like seeking or finding, how do I find my center and my equanimity when there is the world feels on fire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, there's this question or this framework that we really need to lean into. That is, how do we take care of the individual as we are, and how does taking care of our individual selves participate in or help to build collective well-being? I think that there's a lot of push for folks who are in a community tending environment or vocation to go out and build for the community, to do all of the work that we see that needs to be done to kind of close the care gap, to close the wellness gap, whatever that means. And in that, there's a lot of lack of care for self. And so whenever we step outside of that tending to the community, and we finally tend to ourselves, it feels like, oh my gosh, like this was exactly what I needed. But I think then there's got to be a middle way. We can't just leave everything behind to feel cared for. And we do know that as culture makers and as community tenders, as community stewards, the reality is that many people rely on us to offer the provisions of rest and resilience and things like that. And that's A, not our role to do for them, and B, that is not our way of caring for self. So I think what we can do whenever we are in, Bali, or we are on the side of a mountain, for me it's the Arctic Circle. Everyone, they all can take Bali. I'm going to the Arctic Circle. I'm just going to go sit on the side of a mountain and watch reindeer. That's my thing. But I think that one of the things that we need to realize is that those moments, they can be escapist moments, just like movement on the mat can also be an escapist, dissociative moment. Or it can be an invitation into curiosity of, why does this feel good right now versus what the rest of my life feel like, and how do I begin creating a bridge between that and this, so that I
Mhm.
am able to be in well-being for myself, because well-being cannot just be taking care of others.
Yeah.
Also, so many of us that look like us, especially, have been, our lineage involves a lot of caretaking, a lot of caregiving, but also not receiving that same care. Um, and in fact, being depleted from or extracted from care. So it becomes even more important to prioritize that care for self, that
Yeah.
because it not only is for ourselves, but it's also an example. It models for those who will come behind us what life can look like, what a rested life can look like.
Well, and you gave us a little taste of this in these opening moments of grounding, of arriving in the space together, this like calling back of energy and or the calling back to center. And how does this act of internal reclamation move us out of a protective state, potentially, move us out of that place of apathy or burnout and back to a place where we can actually engage with the world's hurt?
Yeah.
I'm
And by
just
the
I'm
way,
just asking small questions today.
like, this is an easy one, right? No, but
An easy one.
and the world's hurt is such a great way of framing it. Like the so many of us feel the world's hurt. And I think it is not only self-preservation, it's not only sustainable, but I think it's also right for
Hmm.
us to acknowledge and to realize that that is not our job. Our work is not to quell the hurt of the world. Our work as community stewards, as yoga teachers, as people who practice yoga, yoga practitioners, is to engage in the practices of yoga in order to transcend our our societal and cultural um, limitations that have been imposed upon us, but also the realities that we are also experiencing our own trials and tribulations,
Yeah.
and we need to take care of that. We need to take care of ourselves. When we take care of ourselves, then we can offer to the rest of the world from a place of fullness, and we can
Hmm.
model that. But it is still everyone's individual work to get free. Now, with that said, we the work of getting free then also becomes a collective project, a group project, if you will. And the thing is everyone has to do their part, and everyone's part isn't going to look the same. Those of us who've chosen to be community stewards, our work will be like providing tools and things so that people can be in their work without
Hmm.
being depleted. But it is also a part of our work to take care of ourselves and to be able to differentiate what is ours. And we've talked about this before on our podcast. For those of you who don't know, we have the podcast This Is Not Tea, where we talk about this kind of intersection between identity and community and the practices of self-care and wellness that are supposed to be there to sustain
Yeah.
us. But are they really doing that work? So I just think it's really important for us to acknowledge, by taking time to call our energy into ourselves, to notice what is ours, what is not ours, what tools can we deliver for others in this moment, what tools should we not, or what tools are outside of what is needed. Like, that clarity of awareness is important.
Idam namama. This is
That
not
part.
mine.
That
This
part.
is not mine. This makes me think a lot, and I feel like the four locks and the keys from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali is always something that's sort of in the background of my brain, but I feel like it's been very in the forefront, with particularly the political state of the world currently, and figuring out how I'm navigating all of these different personalities, all of these different humans we come into contact with in our day-to-day life. And for those of you that are not familiar with this offering, this is Yoga Sutra 1.33. And I believe it's Iyengar that coined it, the four locks and the keys, but it speaks to the happy people that we come across in our path, the unhappy people, the virtuous, and the wicked, and how each of these archetypes of human beings can be a lock on our peace, meaning they are preventing us from keeping our equanimity, from keeping our steadiness in some way. And then a key is given for how we relate, how we can be in relationship with the other. And, for the happy, it's friendliness. For the unhappy, it's compassion. For the virtuous, it's delight. And for the wicked, it's disregard or equanimity. And at the end of the day, each of these pieces they're not about changing that other person or fixing that other person. It's about, how do I keep my steadiness? How do I keep my peace, my center, so that I can show up and continue to engage with my inner world and with the world around me from a rooted place, from an embodied place. And I think that the beauty of the ability to truly be in your center, um, is that by walking that path, that can actually create massive change in the collective. So we start from this place of, I'm not trying to fix, I'm not trying to change another, I'm trying to keep my peace, but the reverberation of my peace can be contagious and affect positive change.
Mm. But people think about yoga as staying calm. We're like calm
Yeah.
all the time. We are calm all the time. We're just peace, love, chill all the time. And I think, in a hurting world, the reactive state is real. We are going to react. And isn't that sometimes a necessary, courageous, and righteous response? um how do we navigate, how do we use yoga to navigate all that heat without being
Yeah.
consumed by it?
Yeah. I think a couple of things immediately pop into my brain with this. One, I mean, we have tapas, like one of the tenets of Kriya Yoga, this yoga in action, is about making the choice at times to step in the fire, to do the uncomfortable, the challenging thing when we recognize that the discomfort of this moment and meeting that discomfort is ultimately going to create greater clarity or peace. But we often don't find calm or ease or peace without friction. Like being human, being alive, being in the world it's friction making. And people say this to me all the time, man, you're so calm and collected. And I do think I often am. But it is not the truth of my nature all the time. I'm sad and I'm hurt and I'm angry, and finding the place where we allow ourselves to feel and express all of what we are. Let me put it this way. I have a dear friend of mine years ago. Her little girl very dramatically walked into the kitchen one day and said, do you think Ashley even thinks about me anymore? This is like a 4-year-old. And I was like, oh my Lord, I need to go see my 4-year-old bestie. And
Oh,
and so we made a date for the next week and went, got our nails done and went and got a meal afterwards. And in the course of this, I don't know, we were maybe together for 4 hours, and she hated me. She loved me. There was kicking and screaming on the ground and then crawling into the lap and hugs and kisses, and like this whole full range of emotion of like what was coming up was being expressed in real time.
yeah.
And I think that when we buy into this necessity of calm, when we're forcing it or we're putting it on in a performative way, knowingly or unknowingly, we're denying ourselves the expression, one, to that the release that comes from living embodied and moving through all the colors and all the states of our being, but also the way in which that feeling is a superpower. This is like a gift that we have as humans, and it's sometimes the temper tantrum and the release of that. So what does that look like as an adult navigating difficult times? Maybe I'm not going to fling myself on the floor and kick my feet anymore, but if I am angry enough that I am feeling that inside, that's a call to action for me. Something has
Right.
to change.
Mm.
And how do I now take this fire, this heat, in the same way that, like, I'm going to go get on my mat and do the chair pose. I hate it. But you know what I love? I love hiking. And I know I'm like strengthening my legs. I love springing into inversions. And I know that Utkatasana is helping me get there. And so, how do I relate that and take that now into my life? How do I use at times the anger or the frustration or the challenging choice to mobilize?
Right.
Right.
I think that people really have um, missed the point of movement. I mean, the thing is that there is so much conversation about, well, asana is only one part of yoga, and that is true. We do know that that is true, and it is not the point, but it helps us embody the point. And with the
Mhm.
movement, I think, for me recently, I've been in a practice of get up early. I'm not an early bird on any level, although my friend Ashley is. And now we're like waking up at the same time. It's incredible. But I'm a, 9 a.m., softly start my day, soft landing day. And I thought to myself, this feels awesome. However, also, it's feeling a little like a little immobilization. And I think we need to acknowledge and know that when we're looking at freeze as a legitimate response to the stress that we're feeling in the world right now or in our lives or any kind of challenge that we are trying to um, move beyond, freeze can show up in a lot of different ways. We've heard of fight or flight, we've heard of rest and digest. We need to also remember that freeze is also a real response. And freeze can look like just not being like really wanting to do much. And we could think, oh, I'm just in a lazy moment or it's winter time or whatever. And that can be true. But it could also be I'm in a really apathetic state right now where I don't really feel like I can do much. And stepping into movement helps to mobilize, with care and with awareness. So I think that, like for me, choosing to wake up and move before the sun came out, which is something that many, many people do, but it doesn't matter what other people do. What mattered was for me, it was a shift in my general way of being. And it wasn't just move for the sake of, oh, never miss a Monday or these things that we kind of hear like um, come up in like diet culture and things like that. It was, I want to move because I need to move. And then after I move, I'm going to write. And then after I write, then I'll go ahead and get into the rest of my day. But that movement, what ended up happening is prior to all of that, because of the world that we're living in, because of challenges, because of the fall of democracy and societies that for which democracy was a foregone conclusion, because of war, because of genocide, because of systemic oppression that I'm also living in a daily basis as a Black and queer person in the world. Um, I was really stuck on certain things, what I wanted my book to be about, what I wanted, like upcoming workshops I wanted to offer. There were so many ways in which I was stuck. And the movement just got me into doing something different. And I also wanted to move outside of the house. I wanted to like go out and move. And
Yeah.
just by getting up, going out, moving before doing something different, then coming back and reflecting on anything that I was feeling or thinking. Literally, it only took 5 days, and now I have my thesis for my book. And it was just like, oh, okay, I just needed to shift something. So that
She's
movement.
also a Capricorn, y'all, so that's right on brand that you made up your mind and then 5 days later it is done. It might take
It
some of us a
doesn't
little
take
longer, but yes, get on the path.
it doesn't take long. But you know what? But that winter baby in me really wanted to stay nestled up in my bed. So that, and we are procrastinators. The
But here you
movement.
are. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say what you're talking about there, though, that is tapas again, right? It's that fire of
Yes.
discipline. You made a daily commitment to your mat at a time when maybe right now it was like I could just lie down on this couch or I could sleep in, and maybe we go back to the
Right.
sleep in. And again, there's times where that's truly what is of need, what is necessary. Um, but we're literally making the choice and leaning into the discipline of showing up when you are tired. And I
Right.
think that this is a lot of times what's being asked of us if we're walking the path of the householder, right? How do we keep showing up and knowing that showing up might look different from day to day, but how do we build and grow our spiritual stamina?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question. And I think that we ask it. And if we don't have an answer, we shift something. I think sometimes we ask, we listen, we ruminate. And I think sometimes we ask, we move, and we ask again. Because I think that the movement, especially if we're accidentally stuck on freeze, the movement is what can shift us out of it. However, I think that what that movement looks like is going to be different depending on who we are and what we're dealing with. If we're dealing with a lot of fire in the world, then the fire of the practice might need to look like a yin practice, a restorative practice, a gentle practice, something that allows for us to be taken, for us to take care of ourselves. If the fire of the, if the fire is actually hot ice, it's actually like really, really frozen, then maybe we do need that really spicy, flowy vinyasa or shunga practice or something like that. Like we need to be able to notice and name what it is that we need. And that clarity comes with pausing. At some point we're going to have to pause to feel, to sense, and to become aware. And I think for some of us, we can just take a beat and be in it. But for others, we may need to move first and get some of the stuff out of the way and then ask that question and listen again. Because here's the thing, that we are sharing a collective nervous system. The people who are in our worlds and in our ecosystem, we are a part of one another. We're part of the world. And whether or not I am in Iran or in Gaza or in West Africa, like it doesn't matter where I am in the world. What I am building in and for the world affects the 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 nervous system of the world. It affects the earth's wisdom and its intelligence and what it brings in. And also we are better decision makers when we are more rooted so that we can take decisive action as to what makes sense for us. The reality is there have to be some calm people. That is true. Like we there have to be people who are going to be able to build for a better world. And the building for that better world is going to be dependent upon um, people having discernment and decisive clarity on what needs to happen. What I know for sure it doesn't look like is it doesn't look like the cultural and spiritual equivalent of just take child's pose if this shape doesn't work for you, because the
Yeah.
the truth is there's something that we can do. And that offering of just taking a this isn't restful or restorative for someone. And the awareness of that, I think, is where we start really naming truth and really leaning into how we do what is it that we need for ourselves. But I know for me, it is always going to be yin yoga practices, restorative yoga practices, yoga nidra practices. What about you for Ashley? What are you needing? Like when you need well, yoga nidra is not a movement practice, but it does help me shift.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very much the like slow, mindful flow is where I go to, and I'm movement helps me cultivate stillness. So I love restorative. I'm getting more and more into the yin. My hypermobile body had to learn how to be there without doing harm. Um, but it's it's movement in some form, and I love being in nature. So my yoga is not always Like for all of us, the yoga is not just confined to what I choose to do when I get on my mat. Um, I love to walk and look at the trees. I want to see the leaves. I want to feel the earth below me. I have a sweet little front yard. I sit on my porch and look at my fig tree, my tangerine tree. Um, Anything that brings me present, anything that brings me back into the breath. I feel like the breath work is also a big place for me because it is one of the first things that I notice when I am dysregulated. Is that like, oh, I'm not breathing, or my breath isn't making it past, you know,
Yeah.
just the tippy top
Yeah.
of my lungs are being utilized. So, yeah, I would say a little flow with the followed then invitation into stillness of restorative breath work, meditation, or immersing myself in nature.
Yeah. And then after, and then the question then becomes, okay, what after that, right?
Mhm.
And I think what a possible answer, or what a even a, something that we can all do is after the movement, after the rest, after the nourishment, however it has been, maybe you've noticed, oh, I haven't been eating, or maybe I haven't been hydrating, or maybe I haven't been sleeping. So after giving yourself what you need, I think the question then is, what is the problem I'd like to solve? What is the problem I would like to solve in the world? And okay, so maybe it's like world peace, like maybe it's a really big answer.
And if you're
And it's like,
Capricorn,
okay.
you'll solve it in 5 days.
You just need to be rested. A Capricorn just needs 5 days of rest. We're gonna serve world peace up to the world. No, but maybe it's just like, okay, well, that's not really like ending a war is
Yeah.
possibly not my, not within my circle of influence, but okay, what could that look like? What is one inspired action I can take today that helps me get closer to the problem I'd like to solve in the world?
Yeah.
And doing that and maybe even journaling on that every day or taking that inspired action every day. And maybe it looks like leading a community discourse. Maybe it looks like teaching someone breath practices. But there's something that we can do every single day to move us out of freeze and move us even out of fighting and throwing hands. Because I know sometimes I want to throw hands or just
Mhm.
get on a plane somewhere, but to bring us back into social engagement, which is where we can organize, we can empathize, we can act, and we're doing it with clarity.
I have a teacher that used to say, I brush my teeth every day, and I don't do it because it's really fun. I do it because I want my teeth to stay in my face. And I think about that as the practices that we're choosing to do each day. I don't sit down to meditate every day because I find it really fun to do. Honestly,
Mm.
sometimes it's like, ugh, as I'm
Yeah.
dragging myself there, but I do it every day because I want my teeth to stay in my face. I want my brain to be settled. I know that on the other side of making the choice to sit down and be present with myself, I can take on the rest of the day with breath.
There you go. The rootedness is being rooted in a consistent practice, gaining the clarity and having that animating the vision from that clarity. But we've got to be rooted in our own practices. Otherwise, it will always be projective. It'll always be about other people. We'll burn ourselves out in the process. And frankly, we need each other. I need you in this world. I need you. I need what is your magic. And the magic can't come through if you're burned out, if you no longer want to be here, like real realities. So Yeah, practice to keep your teeth in the mouth.
Practice to keep your teeth in the mouth. Thank you so much for having us. Yoga Gives Back. We're so thrilled to have been able to be here. This is such an important organization, and the work that Kayoko is doing and the awareness that she's putting into the world and creating microloans for women to start businesses in India and have some financial independence and freedom in that way, and scholarships for young, for girls and children in general to further their education. And so before we leave you, just a thank you for the work and for allowing us to be here and play a part in that.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Ashley and Tamika. Really appreciate you being here. And everyone, thank you so much. We'll share this recording also. And please know your participation really helps more girls and women who need your support in Mother India. And happy International Women's Day. Thank you so much
Happy
both.
International Women's Day.